Thank you.
I will also be here for you when we transition now to talk about TSM. So when you... That's all you really need to say, actually. We can just end it there. Chad, are you okay with that reaction? Do you need more analysis from Tyler? I think that's it. That's what we need. That's about it. That's all you need. For all the conditions that went wrong for Team Liquid against Machi, it was far more dire for TSM against Genji. It didn't look like it, at least in the kill count. I mean, definitely in the gold lead it did. In the kill count, it didn't. But to me, that was a more disappointing loss, because going into this, TSM, we really felt would have a chance here against Fnatic, against Genji to show their prowess. But honestly, Tyler, from my untrained eye, it looked like they were unmatched everywhere. Outclassed, I mean. They were outclassed everywhere in the map. Like, Genji decisively won this game.
Oh, yeah. Like, the Machi Team Liquid game is more embarrassing. It's more disappointing in a way, because Team Liquid, I honestly do believe, has the talent and the experience and just the pedigree overall to beat a team like Machi. And then, again, no offense to Machi, I just think Team Liquid overall is a stronger team. That might change very soon after we watch more of these matches, but Genji versus TSM was TSM trying to play quasi-comfort, bringing the Zilean, the Senna, putting Spica back on the Nidalee after his first, kind of ineffective Nidalee game. And, he got the ganks off. He got a few of the ganks off. And it seemed like, and there was plays and there was these skirmishes where, the flash Zilean revive of, in the bottom lane that, saved, saved the bottom lane of, don't even remember who he saved because my mind is so frazzled and sad. But, there were a few plays that gave you hope. And it was like, oh man, they just won a 2v1 skirmish, or, they layered the Senna ultimate atop of, a Redectin stun and a double bomb, and they got off, they killed Rascal, woo! And then you look at the gold lead, and it's like 4 kills to 1, but Genji's up 4k gold. And it's just that Genji played the map so much better, and it all started from the mid lane where, you're taking Zilean, who's a very mana-intensive champion, who needs to, get his items on to actually spam out those double bombs and spam out the speed-ups and spam up everything he needs to be a fully functioning annoyance that Zilean at full power can be. And it's why Bjergsen has piloted him so well in the LCS and even international tournaments before. But BDD, one of the best mid laners in the world, comes in with Set, a monolith, champion where he can just spam out his abilities and he can sustain in the mid lane. And Bjergsen had no option. He had no real counterplay. Spica really couldn't make any difference in the mid lane, and it was just BDD just monsterly smashing Bjergsen, where by the 10-minute mark, BDD was up 30, 35 CS. And even when Spica's ganks did work in the top lane with Broken Blade against Rascal's Volibear, his Volibear is excellent, Volibear still had the lead. The only lane that actually did decently in lane was the Senna and Rakan bomb lane, where Doublelift, even though he was getting pressed in by Ruler, still stood up and did pretty decently in the early game. But the thing is, like, the combination of the composition in general just didn't fit. There was just no damage. There was no punch, especially when you're playing against a fully tanked up Set, a Set that is so far ahead in terms of CS, where he can get his items and be beefy and just be that front line alongside Volibear. There just wasn't enough damage, especially when your main damage dealers essentially are the Nidalee and the Senna. And Senna couldn't get enough souls. She wasn't really that big of a worry for Genji, and neither was Nidalee. Nidalee got her, Spica got his 2 ganks off. Congratulations. But when it came to CS, he was down again, 30, 40 CS to Clid. And Clid was one of the few Lilias that we've seen who actually worked the champion as how she should play, where her clearing speed in the jungle makes her such a menace, where she can just take over the jungle and take all the camps, especially when Spica is trying to force these ganks in, where he would rather get that one gank in While Clint is like, okay, sure, you killed Rascal. It took you, 2 minutes to kill Rascal? I'm just going to take all your camps because I'm Lilia. That is what I do. And by the time that they actually got into the team fighting segment, they just had no damage. And there was a few instances where it looked like, oh man, TSM can win this fight. They have the revived Zillion. They got close to picking up some members. But when it really came down to it, BDD was just too good. He was suplexing Rakan out of any sort of chance of trying to charm the team. And even when they had full reign of like opening up on Genji, the damage just wasn't there. So I actually agree with you. Your untrained eye, was right, where it just was, they were outclassed in every way. And it feels like they've tried to play too cute a bit, where they played some of their comfort and they tried to, take over in the early game, and it just didn't work out. Same thing with Team Liquid, where they wanted to have some sort of presence in the early game with that jungler, where it's all about the early game jungling, right, Arda? Where get that jungler fed, get that Canyon level Nidalee out there, or the PO6 level Nidalee, and they wanted that for Spica, but Spica didn't have the lanes to do it, where you want your lanes to be sturdy enough to actually be able to, sustain that Nidalee, for that Nidalee to take over the map where she can free farm because her lanes are pushing, but the lanes weren't pushing. So for me, I just feel like the NA teams, I can't really say much about FlyQuest. We've only seen one game of them, but I feel like they have to simplify what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I really liked what LGD did today. They picked a team fighting composition. They picked a pure team fight 5-on-5. Let's scale to a team fight composition, which is what they're good at. They don't try to play what they're not good at, and they've tried to in the play-ins, and we saw how that worked out when they tried to play, a more early game style. They went to what they were good at, and it worked. And they got, the MF is back there, and they have that wombo combo going on, and they beat Fnatic in the end. So it's not over yet. I'm very disappointed. I have not been happy with any of the games I've seen from TSM, Team Liquid, or FlyQuest, but my only hope is maybe they simplify things. Maybe they go back to these wombo combos. Maybe they try to think more of a 5-on-5 team fight, because I just don't see Spica or, even Broxah currently just kind of dominating these teams in the early game like we see with, Gamwon or even JDG, where it's like, I don't think they have the lineups to really sustain and kind of enable that, hard carry jungler style. And we'll see what FlyQuest does. I think FlyQuest as well should go to their bread and butter, which is that 5-on-5 team fight. Maybe learn from what LGD is doing and try to copy that. But other than that, it was just another disappointing day from TSM. And
yeah,
I'm so excited. I saw the Z-Man, man. I saw the Z-Man locked in. I'm like, ooh.
Spice and everything. Nice.
Bjergsen got the Z-Man. It's all good. It's going to work out, even though the composition didn't look like it made sense at all, really. And I didn't like the Senna pick. It just didn't have enough damage or impact for me, especially when the Nidalee couldn't get farmed enough to even become really that big of a deal in the early game to kind of snowball. It's like, I was like, the Z-Man has so many bombs, and he can revive, and he speed up. The Z-Man, man, it's Bjergsen on the Z-Man, the Zillion. And yeah, I wish I could press R and just kind of rewind time so I didn't have to watch that match.
Not to open up any old NA wounds here, but which team does have a jungler that could thrive in this meta?
Don't say it, Arda. Don't say it.
Just may or may not have similar colors to this cup. I just
don't say it, Arda.
I'm not gonna say the name. I'm just gonna sip my coffee.
They mental boomed. They didn't deserve to be here, Arda. They don't deserve to be here, and it just
what? That's a good point. That's a good point.
But I wish we could see that jungler here. That jungler would. They might have not won many games, but I think it would have been a lot more fun to see that jungler here in this meta, with his mechanical prowess. But alas, that team mental boomed, and they didn't come.
You're right, Tyler. You're right. Let's move on. Actually, speaking of junglers, you had a chance to speak with Broxah after the Team Liquid loss. You said on Twitter, props to Broxah for taking an interview like this after a loss. Yep. And here's what he had to say about the pressure of playing jungle in this world's meta, which is so focused on the jungler position, but also a statement to the fans and doubters after the Machi game.
This is a very jungle-intensive meta overall, be it the play-ins or the main event, where we've seen, almost all these games come down to what jungler can influence and take over that part, just take over Summoner's Rift in the first, 10 to 15 minutes. Do you feel extra pressure on your shoulders in such a jungler-focused meta where if a team doesn't have a jungler in the right form, not performing well, that there's no chance they can go far in this tournament?
Honestly, I really don't mind playing a jungle-focused meta, and if anything, I see it as an advantage. I'm very confident in my own abilities, despite what people have said about me throughout the summer split, and I know for a fact that I can keep up with any jungler that we're gonna face. I've shown that before, and I'm just looking forward to hopefully prove that again.
Final question. You have Suning tomorrow. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of criticism about your game versus Machi. What do you want to say to all the fans out there and, the doubters who are going to obviously be zeroing in on this loss as, a titanic defeat of North America? What do you want to say to everyone out there as you head into your game versus Suning tomorrow?
I think people often tend to overreact after best of one loss. It happens throughout regular splits. It happens at Worlds, and I've been in a situation so many times before where after week one, I was almost packing my bags already, and I thought I was on the way home, but then magical things happened in week two, and we managed to bounce back. And I don't really care about losing one game. Like, again, as I mentioned, it really sucks because this was such an important one for us. This was a must-win game, but at the same time, we can beat any of these teams, and most importantly, we just need to learn from this one. And if we manage to take 1-2 wins in week one, I'll be confident coming into week two. As long as we don't have to do a miracle run starting 0-3, I'll be feeling all right. So yeah, it sucks, it sucks that we're trying to carry the North American pride on our shoulders, and we let the fans down. But one loss so far, doesn't mean much as long as we step it up the next 2 days.
So that full interview with Broxah is available on our YouTube channel /ESPN Esports. Also today, I did an interview with Bwipo from Fnatic, also an interview with Naguri from Damwon Gaming and Mickey X from G2, and a whole bunch of archived interviews as well, also available on our YouTube channel.